Okay, good. Well, good afternoon. I'm Deb Katie Melzer. I'm the Vice President for Student Development again, and we're so happy that you're here. I'm sorry the weather is not cooperating. Usually in June, it's like super humid and very sunny. So at least you got the cooler part of the weather. It is really exciting to welcome your students here to Loyola, and I really mean when I said that we treat them as our own students and our own family members. So we get very excited when new people join our community. Today we have a panel who are going to introduce themselves in just a moment, and we are focusing this session on the experience outside of the classroom. We want to talk with all of you about sort of the high-level view of what we're trying to accomplish with your students from a philosophical kind of perspective. What kind of communication we'll have with you, what kind of opportunities there are with students, for the students here on campus, and what our hopes and dreams for them are during their 4 years here, hopefully 4, and that we're helping them build agency so that they don't move back home into your basements. I thought you'd like that. See, now I'm getting reaction. It's good. Good. But to get started, like the students, we want to get to know you just a little bit better. So I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves, your student, what they're majoring in, and like 5 questions you might have. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to make you do that. Yes. Yes. Sorry, you sit in the front row. You get picked on. But by show of hands, how many of you are sending your first student to college? Okay, quite a few. Good. It's going to be okay, I promise. Your second? Oh, good. Third? Okay. Fourth? Wow, quite a few. Good. Fifth? Any 5? Anyone higher than 5? Yesterday we had somebody with 7. Yeah, they were launching their 7th and not their last. Okay, those with 4, raise your hands again. Yeah, they'll be giving a session this afternoon on retirement planning. Now, I share that with you so that you see there's some real expertise in the room. Second and third child parents, it's not that bad, right? Like, you did okay, you're still doing okay. Your 4th parent or 7th, stop the car when you drop them off, okay? One time I did this and I had a parent, they were launching their 10th child. God love them. And the dad came up to me afterwards and said, "Can I leave them here for the summer?" And I said, "No, unfortunately you have to take them home and bring them back in August." Okay, I guess that's okay. But like, once we drop off, we're out of here. We're going to Hawaii for 2 weeks, and don't call us. Here's our sister's number. Yes, so we know that this is a very important time in your family's life, and an important time in your lives too, whether it's your 1st or 10th or somewhere in between, that you might have plans for their room, and I already have plans for my 15-year-old's room once she launches. So again, today we're going to cover these topics. Our panelists are going to talk about the importance of student engagement and the connection of that to student success. I sort of alluded to that this morning. We'll talk about our campus spirit and how we think about how students are engaged in something bigger than themselves. That's our definition of campus spirit here. Student well-being, certainly all the things that comes with college and sort of the mental health issues that we're seeing since social media and COVID and all of those things. Community life, particularly for residential and commuter students, what that might look like here for your students. And then I'll come back up to talk about successful transitions and some summer homework for all of you. Your students get a summer reading. Yours isn't so bad, but it'll be okay. All right? So with that, I'm going to ask our panelists to introduce themselves, and then Emily's going to kick us off.
Hi, I'm Emily Calderon, and I serve as the Associate Vice President for Student Development.
Tiffany Parker Kennard, Assistant Vice President, Dean of Students.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jason Parkover, Assistant VP for Student Wellbeing and Director of the Counseling Center. We're so glad you are here.
Good afternoon. I'm Donna Woodruff, and I'm Associate Vice President and the Director of Athletics, so welcome.
All right, so I have the pleasure of kicking us off. The group of offices that I oversee are focused on student engagement and leadership, and so I want to talk a little bit about the importance of your student finding their leadership path when they come here to Loyola. All right, so let's start with a math equation. You're going to go to the academic session next, so I want to make sure you're primed and ready to go. All right, so here's my two math equations. They're not really math equations, but I barely passed freshman year calc, so stick with me. Simply put, we don't want your student to just sort of hide out in their room. Now, I have a teenager, she hides out in her room. That is not what is going to help your student be successful and get involved in the community here and really to find their people. So what we want them to do is whatever their interests are, whether they're good at it or just starting to learn about it, to find that club, organization, group so that they can get involved and really start to find their place here. We have over 140 registered student organizations, so if your student cannot find one from this group that they're interested in, we will help them create it. This is not a be-all and end-all. There are certainly many more opportunities for students to get creative each year and add to the growing list. I actually just approved about 15 yesterday, so we are constantly refining based on what the student interests are. We also have the Student Government Association, the Commuter Student Association, lots of community service opportunities. So I saw what Deb was asking this morning during your large session that many of your students are involved in their communities back at home. This really is a campus of men and women for others, and you can see that not only in our community service, but also in our mission trips. We also have quite a few outdoor adventure experiences that your student can take place in. So if their thing is sleeping on the dirt with bugs surrounding them, congrats, we have that for you. You will never catch me chaperoning one of those trips. We also have esports, and then we also have 6 club sports and 25 recreation sports. And we have a plethora of students that are, not a D1 athlete, who would be in Donna's portfolio, but are still interested in being physical and adding to their overall well-being by maintaining that physicality. We also have a ton of campus traditions. It's one of the things that I have loved most since joining this community last fall. There are tons of ways for your student to really mark their time here and be part of the larger community so that they feel like they're connected to, something bigger than themselves. And so they will go throughout the year with a lot of these traditions, starting with move-in day, continuing on with Initium Week, finishing with Lessons and Carols, which is a lovely Christmas service in early December that we stream online that you also should be able to watch. Just really throughout the whole year, we try to mark the time with these big events so students can really pace themselves and also have something to look forward to in terms of the larger community. Loyolapalooza, it's the huge concert in the spring. It's always an artist I've never heard of because I'm too old to know what's cool. And so I always have to ask it 8 times, who is this again? And I also oversee a group called the Thrive Center. This is our hub for student success. This is a place where we want students to come and have people be known by their name and story, right? So we want to be working with your student in a transformational academic way to be asking them, what are you interested in? Don't tell me pre-med. That's not a thing. What are you, Susie or Steve or Joe, interested in? Are you interested in helping people? Let's talk about that a little bit, right? That doesn't necessarily immediately equal medical school. Are you interested in traveling the world and maybe learning another language? Let's talk a little bit about how study abroad might fit into your overall academic career here. So really getting students to think outside the box about the type of experience that they want to create for themselves here and how we can support them in that journey, especially when they hit snags in the road, like that first C in calculus that threw me off course, and I didn't have anyone to say to me, like, it's 1C, like you're still gonna go on, you're gonna have a career, you're gonna be just fine, right? We wanna show students that there is a lot of resilience in the highs and the lows during their college career. Additionally, within the Thrive Center, we have quite a few cultural and identity-based programs. We hold affinity spaces, often in connection with the Counseling Center for students with intersectional identities. And then we also run our first-year student programs out of this office as well. So congratulations, you're already participating in the Thrive Center for Student Success just by showing up for orientation. All right, so yesterday, well, actually, Jason will do it too, but I loved Seinfeld. Seinfeld was on when I was in college, and wow, there was No streaming, you just had to be there on Thursdays at 9 o'clock and watch through the commercials, all that good stuff. But one of my favorite quotes is by Newman, right? So he's sort of the degenerate mailman, for lack of a better word. And he has this great quote that he says, when you control the mail, you control information. And he's got this great like villain voice that he says it in. But what I want to tell you is that knowledge is power around here. And we do not gatekeep knowledge for you, right? That is not a thing. For us here. We want you to be just as involved in your students' experience from a distance. Don't be showing up right outside their classroom, knocking in, right? But from a distance. So for students, the best way to understand what's going on campus is to be on the bridge. If your student tells you that there is nothing to do on campus, they are lying. Lying. I know, it's hard to believe. There are so many things to do on campus. I actually go into the bridge every morning, and I am completely overwhelmed by the amount of options that are based on not only interests, major, careers, anything you could imagine, and even silly stuff like they usually have pie-ing contests in the quad, right? So students will raise money for charity, and they're getting a face full. Is it actually pie, or is it like whipped cream? It's whipped cream, yeah. So that's always fun, too. For families, I want you to know about Campus ESP. This is the way that we want to help you be part of our community. So this is our family portal. We are going to not only tell you the highlights that are happening on campus, we are also going to give you some tips and tricks for supporting your student far away from home. We know that family members, parents, grandmothers, fathers, aunts, uncles, you name it, sometimes even the little siblings, are just as crucial to academic success as we are here. We know, because you've had them for the last 18 years, that everything you've developed and created in them is going to continue on here, and so will your influence. So we want you to be just as involved with what's going on campus as we are. All right, let me show you a few important dates. So Fall Welcome Weekend, that's August 28th is move-in day to September 21st. Families depart at 3 p.m. So much like the song says, you don't have to go home, but you cannot stay here. That is the moment that your student is going to be entering in fully to their time here, and they really need to be not thinking about family and maybe having dinner with mom or dad or going back to a different hotel later in the night. They really need to start embracing the fact that they are a student at Loyola from here on. Initium Week is one of the first weeks of school. It's actually a little longer than a week, as you can see. We have a ton of events, including a student activities fair, to get your student involved and exposed to the rich traditions and vibrant community that we have here. Like Terry Sawyer said this morning, everyone finds their place here at Loyola, and this week is a great opportunity to kick that off. Lastly, I would definitely invite you back for Family Weekend, so that's September 26th to the 28th, about 5 weeks after you drop off your student. Awesome time to check in with them, make sure they're doing laundry, because 5-week-old sheets are gross. Make sure that they're eating, right? Come back and see. Say, take me to your classroom. I want to see, who your professors are. I want to know the types of things that you're doing. Introduce me to your friends. All of that good stuff. We'll have a ton of stuff for you all to do, and then you obviously will have some free time with your student as well. Oops, and then I'll turn it over to Donna.
Thank you, Emily. So again, I'm Donna, and I'm the Director of Athletics here, and part of what I want to speak about is a little bit about campus spirit, right? And it's specifically going to be from the lens of athletics, because we are fortunate that we have an opportunity to kind of be a little bit of the front porch, right? We're constantly wearing Loyola gear, we're constantly out there representing the university, but really, one of the things that's important to me, certainly, our student-athletes experiences is very important, but also trying to figure out how to get their brand out there and also to welcome everybody into the community via athletics. So we're constantly hoping that your students will want to be a part of what we have going on down in athletics, that they want to cheer for it, that they want to be proud, that they are proud of being connected to Loyola, that you all maybe check out ESPN Plus and watch some games because you're cheering for what your child is involved in and connected to. And you all are a part of our community as well and everything that Loyola represents. So we're hopeful that that's the case. So you can see here that this is Iggy, our mascot, who we love. Behind him are a bunch of students that are cheering at, that's at Ridley Athletic Complex, which is our lacrosse and soccer stadium. A lot of students are down there. A lot of students are into it. We love it. And then I'll show you on the next slide, if you don't mind, whoever may have the clicker. Yeah. So this is what we want the atmosphere to be for your students and for you all. You want to come to games? All the students get in free to all of our athletic events. You all want to come? We just got to charge you a little bit. Promise you just a little bit. But they get in free, and we want them to come. We want them to build community like this. I'm a real big fan of, you see the young man there in green with the green hat, painted his body. I think it's great. Find something to get connected to and come, get out of the room, as Emily, was saying. It's not good to be stuck there. It's good to be a part of community like this. As you can see, there's a lot of different faces there, a lot of different celebrations. I did say this yesterday when we made this presentation, that right before I made the first presentation, I took a look back at my slides and I realized that we have one person here who doesn't seem to be having as much faith. The fact that I kept it in here for today, I could have removed that. But let's just say at least she's with her friends. So. It is an opportunity to get out and about. It's quite stands out. But it is a great opportunity to get connected. And a couple of other ways that your students can be connected through athletics, right? We have to put on a lot of large-scale events. That means that we have students that also participate as managers. Send them our way. If they're interested in being a manager as a part of one of our teams, send them our way. If they're really good at analytics and they're like, you know what, I'd really like to do sport analytics, send them our way, right? We have some jobs available. If they're interested in something that I really should not be overseeing as a 57-year-old woman is like video and social media, we need the people who are going to do that in ways that we haven't even thought about yet. So if you have a student who's interested in that, video, social media, send them our way. We'll be happy to hire them. They do a great job, and then they're connected. Then when Loyola wins, and we hope that we win a lot, when Loyola wins, they all win. They're all a part of the success. Iggy, right? If you have someone who likes to kind of be a little crazy out there and wants to be that person with the green hair, and but if they want to be Iggy, send them our way. And when you go to the student fair a little bit later and all the activities, you'll be able to talk to somebody from athletics and your student if they're interested in being Iggy. That'd be awesome. We actually had, and I don't think this comes up in President Sawyer's talk when he does talk about all the great things that we're proud of here at Loyola, but I think this is pretty cool. We had a student who was our Iggy for 4 years, and when he graduated, he did get a full-time job, so parents don't need to panic about this. But we're proud of the fact that he got hired by the Ravens as one of their mascots, right? So there you go, multi-talented. I think the first time I said that, I might have scared a few family members when I said he got a job as the mascot. And I think they were like, so now I'm always careful to say he did also get another full-time job. And if we could, yeah, there we go. So as you can see, right, a lot of people having a lot of fun. I'll harken back to the commentary about traditions and some things that we have to look forward to every year. This picture up here in the right is actually at Johns Hopkins University. So that's a group of students that we do something every spring called the Battle of Charles Street with our rivals at Hopkins. That's actually at their facility, and we had more students that went down to Hopkins to cheer on our team than they had local fans. And we always, hope that that's the case at home as well. Welcome all of you to come to that. It's just a great way, for everybody to be cheering for one thing together. We do some things where over on the left, that was a volleyball match where it was in support of cancer awareness. So that's why they're wearing the gold T-shirts. And then again, I'm all for these outfits. I'm all for our students just getting out there together and enjoying what they're doing. I also will let you know we are going to start a pep band this year. So if you have any students who have musical interest and they might be interested in that, when you go down to the activities fair as well, either the athletics table or the music table, they're prepared to find out if anybody wants to join us. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun as well. Okay, all right, so part of my responsibility is, as you can see, I'm always wearing the Loyola L. I want all of you to be really proud about where your student goes to school. I'm hopeful that when someone asks you, where does your student go to school, when you say Loyola, that they don't say, oh, in Chicago. Is right? So we're working on that. Loyola Chicago, wonderful institution. But we want the first thought to be Loyola. So I'm not here to sell the bookstore, but I really do like it when everybody is decked out in Loyola gear. So, so much so that I purchased these the other day. I think they're so adorable. But the idea is that, you know, this mostly is for our staff, but when they have a child, I want them to be a future hound, right? So let's get them going. You all are welcome to the Greyhound family. I do have one question for you, though. We have 3 Loyola alums that are currently on NBA rosters. And I am curious if anybody can name the 2 NBA teams, because 2 of them are on the same team. If you can name the 2 teams in the NBA that we have Loyola former students on. Golden State is one, you are right. So Pat Spencer graduated, he actually played lacrosse for us here at Loyola, and then after he finished playing lacrosse and graduated and won the Tewaaraton Award as the best lacrosse player in the country, he then decided to play basketball at Northwestern and then made it to the NBA. So yes, he is hanging out with Steph Curry. I'll give you a hint, his brother is on this other team. His younger brother also went here, and we had Santi Aldama, who also went here from Spain, and they are both on the Memphis Grizzlies. So if you want to cheer for someone, what we like is every time they mention, not every time, but when they mention those students, they say that they went to Loyola, Maryland, and we love that. So welcome you all to the family. You win a hat so you can get the logo on, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your time here. Go Hounds.
Donna is the best. I always am ready to run through a brick wall after listening to her talk. Let's go, I can do this. Donna does this before our staff meetings, as our staff meetings at the counseling center, and she comes on over and she's like, which Loyola do you work at? Is it Chicago? No, it's Baltimore. Now get out there and do some good counseling today, partner. It's just like that, right? Anyways, Jason Parkover, and as I said before, so glad that you're here. I have the pleasure of working closely with Loyola's student well-being initiatives. And I want to tell you first about 3 of our departments that do a lot of this work, and then a couple of balcony level thoughts for you as you're getting ready to help your students transition to university life. So first up is the Counseling Center, which is right across from Starbucks. A very talented staff. It's all licensed clinicians. We train doctoral students. It's a premier training center that has a very strong reputation. And services there are free and confidential. And we love to share that students who seek support at the Counseling Center graduate with significantly higher GPAs and are more likely to graduate with honors, right? Cum laude, summa magna, I think I got the order wrong. But that is because these are students who are most proactive and engaged and willing to use their resources. The team offers brief individual counseling, lots of groups and workshops, and a range of other really wonderful and innovative services. I want to highlight 2 of them. One is we are available 24/7 for emergency support, and we pass out the after-hours number regularly. All students have that just in case. And we also have a really active website that was visited this past year over 70,000 times by Loyola students. One of the most popular pages is the Just for Parents page, so I definitely want to encourage you to check that out. We'll be sending lots of information about services over the summer, so just wanted to give you the highlights for now. Next up is the health center. Julie Sands and her team are located right across the bridge where many of our residence halls are. They are fantastic, and they can manage almost all of the acute sort of short-term health needs that our students have. They also have great connections. We're blessed in Baltimore to have wonderful health care for anyone who has longer, sort of chronic needs that may need a specialist in the area. All of our offices are going to be at the activities fair at 3:30 later today. So if you have specific questions, please visit our tables. Also wanted to share that we're really proud of the partnership that we have with Sinai Hospital. Their pediatric team spent some time in the health center with us, and they also provide our after-hours emergency services. So like counseling, there's also emergency medical care. Now, I know the answer is right behind me, but when are your health forms due? July 1st. Show of hands, has anyone gotten them done already? A few. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Please make it a priority to have them finished by July 1st. If not, you're going to get 3,000 or 4,000 more reminders in the next couple of weeks. And it really is important to get those done promptly, because there are other processes that when they're complete, that then triggers to get completed. So just a heads up on that. And the third office I wanted to highlight is Disability and Accessibility Services. Marcia Wiedefeld and her incredibly caring and supportive team do amazing work to help all of our students who have any needs for accommodations or coping with disabilities of any sorts. And we're very excited to be sharing that we are launching this year a pre-fall orientation program for students who identify as neurodivergent, help them hit the ground running, meet various resources on campus. The program is called LENS, and you can get more information about that at the Student Activities Fair. Okay? Two balcony level thoughts that I wanted to share. One is in regards to this transition. I'm a dad of 3 current college students, and so I know what this process feels like. It's a big transition for us, and it's a big transition for our students. Do you know what movie this is a reference to? Yeah, we know, right? So your second Deb is going to give you a little bit of homework. Your other homework assignment is, please get your students to watch this. I went to a student presentation recently, and they were like, no, that does not look familiar at all. Please have them watch The Breakfast Club. It's a must-watch. In terms of dealing with transitions, we are strongly committed not only to our students flourishing while they're here, but we want them to be ready as they launch out into the world to flourish when they are out there, not living in your basement, as Deb mentioned. And part of that is learning how to advocate for themselves, learning how to reach out for support, learning how to figure out where they're going to get support from as needed. We have some students that come in, and this may sound familiar to you, that when we're talking about, hey, have you been able to connect with so-and-so, they're anxious about even picking up the phone and calling to make an appointment with someone, right? I see a bunch of heads nodding. It sounds familiar. We want them to grow this muscle while they're here. And so what we ask of you is to partner with us in helping them to learn these types of skills. So the first step is coaching them on how to reach out for the various resources. If they're struggling a little bit emotionally, hey, have you visited the counseling center? Remember, we met them at the Student Activities Fair. Have you stopped by to see what's available? If there's an issue that they're bumping up against in their halls, hey, have you reached out to your RA? Why don't you do that and let us know how that goes? Or a faculty member, hey, go to office hours. Loyola faculty love office hours, and they're there and they're present and they want to connect with our students. In high school, most of us wouldn't have hesitated if our student was struggling in a class to message the teacher and say, What's going on with my student? What do they need to do to get back on track? That's fantastic. But now is the time for them to be asking those questions and learn how to get there on their own. If they continue to struggle, don't hesitate to reach out to us. The message, I don't want it to be don't connect with us. We're here for you. We do want to connect and consult, but help them first try and take those steps on their own. Does that make sense? Yeah. Excellent, thank you. And the second point I wanted to make was around proactivity around healthcare, all these forms of healthcare, right? If your student has a chronic heart condition, as my oldest daughter has, you would not hesitate to make sure you're staying connected with their cardiologist and that services are set up for when they go off to college. I want you to be thinking the same way, not only about medical care for physical health, but also for psychological health, also for academic health, the accommodations as they're needed. It can be very tempting for our students to think, you know what, I had accommodations in high school, I want to give it a whirl in college without, right? See how that goes. And that's fine. But what I do want them to do is to at least connect with our team at DAS ahead of time to learn about what services are available and how they can reach out and get connected as needed. Similarly, keep in touch with your therapist. Many therapists are now using Zoom, which is great. Keep connected with them, or make sure you have a plan for your student to get connected here at the counseling center. If you have questions about that, reach out to us ahead of time to figure out what is going to be most helpful. Transitions are big, they're exciting, they're wonderful, and they're also a bit anxiety-provoking. Make sure we have let's partner to make sure we have the scaffolding in place to hand off the baton as we're getting ready for this transition. Okay, does that make sense as well? Excellent. And I can't help myself, but I wanted to introduce my twin brother who is here today, and I'm really proud to have him. His name also happens to be Jason. That worked out really well. He got all of Dad's height, but thanks for being here. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dean TK.
Good afternoon, everyone. As I mentioned, I'm the Assistant Vice President, Dean of Students here at Loyola, and I would say the biggest blessing of the work that I get to do is getting to celebrate with the students when they have their best times, but also being able to walk with the students when they have challenging times and they're at their most vulnerable. So to start off, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the areas that are under my oversight, and then talk a little bit about some things that will help us as we're forging this new path together with you all as our partners from a distance. So you've heard today a lot about the Messina program and our Evergreens. That's peer leadership in action. These are students that have already gone through that first year of being at Loyola, and they offer guidance and support. They also share real talk and real experience with your students because they've been there. And they're helping the students to be able to find their footing. So I like to think of the Evergreens as like the student GPS system, right? They're guiding, helping the students to reroute, and sometimes just saying, you've got this. Then we also have in residence life and housing, we have our RAs. So again, these are our live-in student leaders who are helping to organize community building events, yes, making sure that they're having some actual fun, helping to mediate roommate conflicts with grace and snack diplomacy, which is very important, ensuring practical needs are met, like making sure they have just enough toilet paper. And our area coordinators, these are full-time folks that live in the halls as well. And they hold office hours in the building. And they also participate in our on-call system so that they can respond to different crises that happen and urgent needs for our students. And we call it residential education because your student is learning far more than just how to use their laundry card. We also have our Student Athlete Support Services, which is really about balance in motion. This is an office that helps our scholar athletes to look at how they're navigating their coursework and competition. They advocate for our student athletes' needs and looking at the time constraints, and then also working with athletics to look at their eligibility, their class schedules, and the performance pressure so that they can keep their game strong. If you don't remember anything else that I've said today, I want you to remember this. We have our Student Support and Wellness Promotion Office. This is the department that works with our counseling center and other offices on campus to support students who may have any number of challenges that they may be going through. And we have a system, it's called Care Team. So Care Team has a variety of professionals who come together every week to talk about how we can strategize to help our students that may need additional support. And anybody can submit a Care Team report. So faculty members, administrators, students, and parents. If there's a concern that you want us to know about so that we can outreach to your student, you too can help us to stay connected to how we can support your students. Student Support and Wellness Promotion also has case managers who can work one-on-one with your student to help build success plans for them, talk about coordinating resources, and then discussing options like medical leave if they need that type of support as well. Because wellness is also knowing that someone has your back when things are getting tough. And then there's the Student Integrity and Restorative Justice Practices area. So sometimes when you hear about student conduct, people automatically think we're talking about punishment. But here at Loyola, we approach it differently. Our philosophy is about looking at restorative justice, and it meets student development. We lead with something I like to call a careability. So thinking about accountability and care all in one, because they're both very important. If a student has a misstep, we guide them to be able to reflect on their actions, think about their impact, and repair the harm in meaningful ways. We don't just ask, did you break this rule? We also ask, what did you learn from this? And how can you reconcile to continue to be a part of the community? We have a zero tolerance for harassment, hate, discrimination, any behavior that would undermine another person's dignity. Because we know that everyone that is part of this community is still going to be part of this community, and how we engage with one another is very important. We believe that civility, integrity, and justice, they're not just an ideal, but they're the foundation of how our community is going to work here at Loyola. So then there's the big question: how do you support your student from a distance? I've coupled that with the 3 C's, so communication, community, and civility. So starting with communication, it begins with the real big conversation. Does anybody know what that conversation is? Roommates. We want our students to start thinking about how they're going to navigate space, noise, privacy, boundaries well before they come on campus, thinking about sleep and study routines, food habits, and what's shareable. So I always like to tell this story. I call it the pretzel bite parable. Every fall, we have students that are super excited to come together, and they're like, we're going to share everything. We're going to share our TVs, we're going to share our clothes, and we're going to share our pretzel bites. And inevitably, at some point, someone doesn't ask permission and takes someone's pretzel bites. So what begins as a minor annoyance in August eventually spirals into passive-aggressive notes, group text drama, and eventually a public meltdown on Instagram. And then it turns into something where we have to do a room change because it's necessary. So the moral of this story is have your student talk now, not TikTok later. Living with someone requires courageous conversations before the chaos. And then we know that the communication will change with our parents too. So don't be alarmed by delayed responses. The students are adjusting too. We know that college life, it goes fast, and there's lots of moving parts. And I too have been subject to figuring out what that looks like. My youngest daughter just graduated, and I remember the first time I didn't hear from her right away. It was actually several days, and I was spiraling. Where is my child? What's happening? What am I going to do? And eventually, of course, she calls me very calmly, and she's like, "Mom, what's wrong? I was just in my class, or I was going to where I was going to." And I said, "I just want to make sure that you're okay." And she said, "Mom, I'm okay. I'm okay. I don't need anything right now, but I am glad that you called." And it let me know our students are still going to need us. They're just going to be in different ways. Which leads me to the FERPA conversation. You may have heard that part today, or maybe not. But FERPA is a federal regulation that says that your students' records, once they come on our college campus, it belongs to them. So we have to engage our students in a different conversation and transitioning to how we're going to talk about the different type of records that the student has, right? The shift can feel hard, but it's a sign of their growing independence. But please know that we're here to support both the families and the students. But our first responsibility, as Jason said, is to empower our students to lead their own journey. But please know, if there's a health or safety concern, you will know about it. We do engage our parents to make sure that they know when there's a safety concern with their student. And then finally, community. We're asking our students to transition from the me to we. I tell the students all the time, yes, this experience is about you, but it's not just about you. It's about how you're engaging with other folks as part of this larger community. Asking them to answer the question, how do your actions impact others? Are you leading with an Ignatian heart? Are you here for other people besides yourself? Because community is not just handed to any of us. It's built together, and we do that every day. And yes, we will remind them that leaving dirty dishes in the lounge is not a community building exercise. And then finally, civility. It's the foundation of how we're building this community. It's not just about being polite, it's about being principled. So we're asking your students to learn how to listen, to live alongside other people with respect, even when it's hard, and to know the difference between something that's unsafe versus something that's just uncomfortable, because there is a difference. We're asking them to choose compassion over ego, and remembering that every person in our community deserves to feel seen, heard, and valued. And we know that civility, it's wisdom in action, and it begins on move-in day. So move-in day is organized chaos. There's people everywhere, there's slow elevators, full parking lots, and at least one forgotten item that you remember when you pulled up on campus. But underneath the frenzy, just know we have a team that's committed to doing everything that we do with love, grace, care, and intention. And we may not get it exactly right, and it may not be perfect, but please know we're here to make sure that that experience is the best that it can be for you and your students. So we're asking you to come on campus with patience, a little humor, and maybe way less microwaves. And we will handle the rest. And we will continue to be connected to your student all the way through to graduation, and we'll make sure to bring the tissues as well. Because we're excited to embark on this journey with you. And I just want you to know that your student is not alone, and neither are you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, TK. So as I mentioned at the beginning, there is some homework that we're asking you all to think about doing this summer. Because as all of our panelists has indicated, you're partners with us in helping to educate your student. You've known them for 17 to 18 years. We've known them for about 17 to 18 minutes. So we'd really want this opportunity to partner with you. And part of that partnership is helping them have a successful transition. And we know that if you have these conversations over the summer on these topics, that will help them transition well and give you confidence that they'll transition well. So you don't have to have all of these conversations by the time you hit 83 or 95, as one dad told me. But I do ask that you take this summer to rip them away from their high school friends for a half hour over the course of the summer for each of these conversations. So the first one is around academic expectations. Now, this is not necessarily what to major in, or what their GPA should be, okay? Those are important. Please don't misunderstand. And helping students find out what they're passionate about, how they're engaging in their class, where they choose to sit in class, how they get to know their faculty members, how they'll schedule their time, and what the hopes are for learning will help those other things come. I don't know about your children, but my children, how was school today? Fine. What you learn? Nothing, right? So we have to ask our questions differently, right? How is what you're learning in your core curriculum helping you decide what you're passionate about for a major? You thought you were going in as accounting or biology or education. How is that still resonating with you? What gets you excited about that? Right? I can tell you when you ask those questions, you'll see an emerging adult come. You'll have a much different conversation with your student at Thanksgiving than you've ever had before because you're asking those deeper learning questions, right? And again, the grades will come, the major, what they decide to study will come when you ask those deeper questions. There is one question I want you to ask on week 3. I'm giving students 3 weeks to memorize and know the names of their faculty members. If they don't know all 5 by the end of week 3, they're probably not going to class, right? It's really hard to fail in college. You have to work really, really hard at it by not going to class, not doing the work. 90% of college is just showing up, right? So instilling that in them, instilling those expectations, thinking through that with your student, okay? As I said this morning, people will change their mind about what to major in. Everyone thinks that they have to study biology to go to med school. English used to be the #1 major of med students. Everyone thinks they have to study business to work at Price Cooper, whatever the rest of the name is. You can tell I'm not a business major, I'm in education. They don't. In fact, our business partners want liberally educated students because they can think, and they're preparing for jobs now that we don't even know exist yet, right? The liberal arts have never been more important, and having an opportunity to take a class that they didn't decide on ratemyprofessor.com to take, right? But rather because they read the description or they read about the faculty member or they're just curious about something is super important. So when you get their schedule and you see, well, why are you taking this philosophy class or this history class? That has nothing to do with accounting or biology. Let them do it, because they'll become more well-rounded, more interesting, better critical thinkers, and great humans. Okay? So you got that one? Everyone good? Academic expectations. Freedom. So in high school, they start school, 8:30, 7:30, somewhere in that range, right? And don't get home till maybe 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Maybe do a couple of hours of homework and hopefully go to bed at a reasonable hour. Well, college, they're on average, are in class 2 to 3 hours a day. That's it. The rest of it, they have to design themselves, right? The rest of the day to figure out how to get all that work done. The students who start creating schedules around that freedom, follow that 888 rule, right? Really do much better. So helping your student think about how they're going to utilize that freedom time and your expectations of how they use that time are super important. You know, way back when, they used to give out the advice, don't do anything your freshman year. Just focus on academics. It's the worst advice we ever got, right? The students tend not to do well. The students who do best are the ones that have structured activities, do out-of-classroom experiences, are athletes who have the busiest schedules, have some of the highest GPAs on campus because it's structured, right? And they have an opportunity to balance a schedule. The students who go to the FAC, which about 75% of our students are regular users down there, do much better academically. and again, are more satisfied with their college experience. So helping them think through those freedoms. If they call you, this gets into the next one, financial investment, and say, Loyola is asking me to pay $300 for X, Y, or Z, they're lying. And I would investigate, right? Because they're probably spending on something that is not authorized or condoned by you or the university. Okay? So, talk with them about their finances, and we'll talk about what's not condoned in just a few minutes, but in that conversation. But around financial investment, talk with them about their investment in their education. There is research that demonstrates and shows that students who have, quote, skin in the game for their college education do better and are more likely to finish. So what that skin in the game is really up to you and your family, whether that's having a job while they're here, whether that's taking out a student loan, whether it's the summer jobs that they have, that's supposed to get them through the year for their spending money. They have to purchase their own books, whatever that looks like. Because when you sit down with them this summer to calculate the cost of missing class, and they realize how much that cost, last time I checked, if you take into account tuition, room and board, it's about $685 or so per class if you miss it. Would they just throw that money away? Probably not. Right? So sit down and have that conversation about the financial expectations you might have for them. And talk about credit card debt, right? College is an opportunity to build credit. We have a lot of opportunity here for financial literacy for our students. Credit cards are not the way to do it, but a small student loan could. And that appreciates, not depreciates. Just like their cell phone bill, right? Or their cell phone loan on paying for that iPhone. What number are we on? 16, 17, right? So helping them understand that this is a financial commitment. There was a university that I won't name who actually went to met full need of a group of students. And over the course of that cohort's 4 years, out of a cohort of 20, only 2 graduated. Right? Because they had no skin in the game. I can miss class, I didn't pay for it. Right? Having that conversation can be really helpful. So that leads into values clarification. This one's one of the tougher conversations I'm asking you to have, but really, we hope they'll do a lot of changing in college, that they'll grow, it'll be transformative, but we hope that the values that you're instilling in your students come with them and stay with them. Particularly around sort of the college culture issues of drugs, alcohol, sex, civility. This isn't just a Loyola issue, right? Drugs, alcohol, sex is everywhere, every college campus, right? But we know how life-changing it can be when poor decisions are made around those topics. So we need you to have those conversations with your students. I'll tell you now, college drug of choice is marijuana. Again, the legalization of that, you can have your opinion about it, but the evidence around how it changes the brain is not disputable, right? So talking to your students about that and how that acts as a barrier to what their dreams and goals are. Talk to your students about sex, about consent, because there's nothing more heartbreaking than sitting with students who have experienced a sexual assault or are accused of sexual assault. We'll help you. They will have homework this summer, online modules that go through these topics. In fact, we take it so seriously, they cannot move into the residence halls unless they complete these modules. So do yourself a favor and check on them, because you'll be sitting in the FAC parking lot for 4 hours watching your student finish it if they have not completed it. True story, right? That should be a starting point off for your conversation with your student. I had a dad come up to me last year and say, I have no idea how to talk about sex with my son. I said, I don't care how you do it. Dust off the books that you presented in middle school. Go watch a movie together. There's lots of things on television and film, et cetera, that talk about college culture. Watch it and talk about it, whatever that looks like. That makes sense? Can you do it? Yeah. Because someone in this room will call me and say, not my student. And I'll have to say, no, I'm sorry, it was your student. It will. In my 30-year career, I've probably separated 6 students from university. It's the hardest thing we have to do. None of us want to see your kids fail. We wouldn't be in this business if that's what we wanted. Okay. It's hard for the person who's been harmed. It's hard for the person who's been accused and found responsible for the harm. And it's hard for the family. And I've sat with families grieving over the loss of what that dream looked like. We want your kids to finish college. We want them to be safe. And we want them to be successful. Make sense? Okay. Thank you. Can you have it? Okay. Appreciate it. Last but not least, saying goodbye. So this is hard. Opening day, it's very beautiful, organized chaos. We're in an urban environment, right? Not a lot of parking. Residence hall parking lots are really tight. You'll have a lot of help. We try to do our very best to make it as smooth as possible. And emotions are running high, right? Dad, set up the technology. Have that conversation with your students. Say, I'll set up your Wi-Fi, don't worry. I'll tell the students, let your mom make your bed. It's probably the last time it'll ever be made, but nevertheless, we'll make it, right? But saying goodbye requires more forethought than that, right? And we ask you to think about doing that about a week before you arrive, okay? Because again, the emotions are running high. And by the way, if you bring a U-Haul, you've brought too much. There's always 2 or 3 that show up on opening day and come back. They leave the parking lot as almost as full as it came. So, again, there's a lot of chaos. So I thought I'd close with a story about how my family did this for me 30 plus years ago. Still telling the story, still know about it and think about it. So it made an impact on me. So maybe it'll help you. So my family had a tradition. I see I have a fellow Boston person over here. If you can't tell, that's where I'm from, with my accent coming out a little bit. But we always went to the same pizza place on Friday nights, all growing up. It was like an Italian restaurant, so it had other things besides pizza. But nevertheless, we had pizza. And we would go there as a family, do our thing, and then if the Red Sox were in town, when the tickets were much more affordable, we would go to the game, or we would watch it on TV. And so it was about a week before I was going off to college. I went about 4 hours away from home. First one in my family to ever go to college, and everyone was very anxious. But we did our family tradition. We went out to dinner, and the Red Sox happened to be playing in town that night against the New York Yankees, I'm sorry. And we sat behind the third baseline, and the Red Sox won. I still remember that. When my sister went off to college, we did the exact same thing. I don't remember who they were playing then, but nevertheless, we did our same routine. My family still talks about those moments. And we solidified sort of that moment of moving from childhood to adulthood and off to college. And literally, when they dropped me off to college, I think the last item was out of the car, and they were like, all right, we'll see you. Right? But that was our goodbye, and I still hold on to that. So I promise you, if you do that, if you can rip them away from their high school buddies before school starts, and do that as a family, be attentive to the younger siblings, to your pets, etc., your student will remember it. So, usually I have the moms crying by now. Anyway, it's a very exciting time in your students' life. We're super excited for them. We're really excited to work with your students. And as everyone has said, if you have concerns, don't hesitate to reach out. If we think there's a health and safety concern, we're going to reach out because we want your student to be successful. And the only way we can do that is to partner together. And you all can't see them, but this young person is sitting in front of me, has been attentive through the entire session. I think you're a future hound. What do you think? What grade are you in? He's going into high school. That's amazing. Big transition in your family, too. How about that? Starting high school and college. Good for you. Well, we hope we see you here in 4 years. Awesome. Good. Well, thank you. We'll stick around for a little bit. Your next session starts up in which room? McManus Theater. Sorry, you're in McManus Theater. And then following that, you'll meet up with your student. Hopefully they haven't texted you. If they haven't, that means they're meeting people, so that's a good thing. You'll meet them up at the Family Blessing at 3 o'clock. And we'll see you with all the specific services down in McGuire Hall at 3:30. But thank you.